segment. And this morning I will be starting with the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page, we have a story on page 22. It says, Kokonso Makinde Dixon meet in Kano. Writer says, Bala Mohammed Makinde meet with Dixon in Bauchi. Obi meet Kokonso in Kano. Disregard misleading narratives on PDP leadership. Wike-backed group tells members. Insecurity, my foreign trips paying off. France, UK committed to supporting Nigeria, and that's according to the president. That's on page 3. IGP direct reduction of police tactical teams, says tactical teams not disbanded, and that story is also on page 3. Experts divided over benefit of £746 million UK export finance deal for Nigeria. Unstable FX regime threatens Apapa Tinkan port upgrade gains, and that story is on page 6. NLC rejects federal government's planned 6 trillion naira power generation bailout, calls for power, petroleum ministries merger, and that story is on page 4. Of course, we'll be looking in depth into that particular issue this morning. Moving on to page 26. Gunmen abduct 8 worshippers during church service in Kwara, and that's on page 26. And on 27, motorists, passengers lament as petrol pump price hits 1,318 naira per litre. What's the situation in your area? It's really calling for urgent concern. There were a lot of people, on the road this morning while I was on my way to work, and there's been a lot of course, people lamenting and outcry. The motorists lamenting, passengers are also lamenting. We hope it gets better, in the coming days. And lastly, on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, tooth loss doesn't just make eating harder. It makes thinking more challenging, according to a researcher. And that story is on page 2. Moving straight to some of the inside stories on page 3, SEC NYC partner to tackle Ponzi schemes via CDS programs. Troops arrest suspect with 36 hand grenades in Lagos. And that story is on page 3. NLC rejects federal government planned 6 trillion naira power generation bailout. Calls for power, petroleum ministries merger. Northern Christian elders call for peaceful 2027 polls. And that's on page 4. Police deny receiving report of alleged boat mishap in Sokoto. And on same page, on business and economy, rising oil prices may reverse disinflation trend. CPPE warns, says unreliable electricity costs economy 10 trillion naira. And moving on to page 16, global oil disruption. Nigeria, others tasked on strategic stocks to withstand supply shocks. Federal government reiterates commitment to human capital development in petroleum industry. Ministry, PSIN collaborates on capacity building, human resource development. Our stories on page 16. And moving on to page 24, alleged 210 trillion naira missing from NNPCL. SERAP threatened legal action, demands names of implicated officials. Olubadan warns politicians against exploiting religion for political advantage. Your leadership inspires progress of Ibadan land, CCII Exco, Lord Ajewole, and that story is on page 24. OPL 245, fresh lawsuit exposes Tinubu government propaganda. That's according to Atiku. Oshun releases supplementary list for ongoing recruitment of teachers, and that's on page 25. Moving on to 26. Gunmen abduct 8 worshippers during church service in Kwara. 3 victims rescued, and that's according to the state. Intercept opioids, meth in carton walls, winter jacket, cream at Lagos airports. Ozoro incident, Delta CP engages stakeholders, reaffirms commitment to justice. And that's exactly what we want to see. Police arrest 20-year-old man for kidnapping, killing 4-year-old boy in Bauchi. Motorists, passengers lament as petrol pump price hits 1,380 naira per litre. And taking some sports stories, we have Arsenal's trophy drought difficult to accept, and that's coming from Arteta. Chelsea bus hurts after Everton loss. Liverpool are dropping too many points, says Slot. And here we have AFCON, my proudest career moment, according to Trust Ekong. And lastly, we have AFCON 2025, or Degbami fault CAF, verdict backs Senegal. And that's much we have on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Moving on to the Vanguard newspaper. On the front page, we have State Police. Governors split as insecurity worsens nationwide. Most states back move, others warn of abuse, repression. North divided, Kaduna, Plateau, Kano, Taraba set pace. Tinubu can't create it by fiat. Afenifere. Lawmakers, governors face crucial tests. We'll address Nigerians' concerns, and that's according to Senate. All stories are on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. We have on page 24, public-private sector leaders set to play lead roles at a leadership summit. From exile to honor, Tinubu's democratic journey and Nigeria's reform moment. That's on page 15. APC convention, aspirants cry foul, alleged hoarding of nomination forms. And that story is on page 8. U.S.-Iran encounter threat over Strait of Hormuz. And that's on page 32. Blackout. NLC wants urgent overhaul of power sector. 6 single energy ministry insists on no bailout for Genco. BCOS and power crisis as power crisis deepens. And that story is on page 9. UK expands detention capacity to speed up deportations. And that's also on page 9. Ozoro Festival assault. Remi Tinubu, Ezekwesili, Naptip. Others demand justice. And that's on page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper. Taking some of the inside stories. Moving on page 6, job scam horror. DSS rescues 44 Ghanaians from criminal network. Terrorists abduct 9 worshippers in Kwara Church, 3 rescued. Ondo police arrest 21-year-old, 3 kidnapping suspects, rescue 3. NDLEA foils large opioids, meth shipment in cartons, jackets, creams. Calabar gas explosion victims rise to 60. Navy intercept 44,000 liters of illegal fuel. Arrest 8 in rivers. And that's all the stories we have on page 6. And on economy, Nigerians in diaspora now order clothes from home. And that's on lifestyle and economy. That's on page 7. APC convention, aspirants cry foul, alleged hoarding of nomination forms. Party insists on zoning, cites INEC's guideline. Middle East war, CPPE, others warn of further surge in fuel prices, inflation, as oil hits $146 per barrel. CBN bags Global Central Bank of the Year award. Fix PDP now or kiss 2027 goodbye. Party leaders return to rebuild party. Senator Natasha begs PDP defectors. And that's on page 9. UK expands detention capacity to speed up deportations. Blackout. NLC wants urgent overhaul of power sector. Liberalization. Nigeria records $75 billion telecom investment since 2001. And that's according to the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. Moving on to page 12. Oba of Benin hails foreign investors, GDP contribution. Ozoro Festival assault. Remi Tinubu, Ezekwesili, Naptip. Others demand justice. Please vow to arrest, prosecute perpetrators. No girl should be subjected to such abuse. And that's according to the monarch. Apwen launches mentorship program, Rivers local government boss. Workers clash over salaries, employment status. All stories on page 12 taking some of these back story, sports stories on the back page of the Vanguard newspaper. March international friendlies. Super Eagles advanced party arrives Antalya today. FIFA orders Senegal to remove second star from World Cup jersey. Iran hit by player absences ahead of Nigeria's friendly. Stranded in the U.S., Nigerian athletes risk missing Commonwealth Games. Fifth Nigeria Women's Invitational T20. Nigeria secure big win over Ghana. AFCON 2025 title. Pinnick defends CAF. Motsepe on Senegal decision. And lastly, we have Arsenal and Man City 2-0. Ghana's quadruple quest comes to a crushing end. And that's all on the Vanguard newspaper. We'll be right back after the weather reports, and we'll go straight to our interview segment. Please stay with us.
Breaking news. The home is under attack, but not for long, because Hypo is here. Dirty floors and surfaces.
Not on our watch.
Dirty and stains no fit do us shakara. We got the remedy, original palasa. Hypo, go hypo.
Germs always find a way back.
No green. Protect every day with Hypo.
Hypo, go hypo.
Breaking news. The home is under attack, but not for long, because Hypo is here. Dirty floors and surfaces.
Not on our watch.
Dirty and stains no fit do us shakara. We got the remedy, original palasa. Hypo, go hypo.
Germs always find a way back.
No green. Protect every day with Hypo.
Hypo, go hypo.
for staying with us. Yes, it's still AM120, and before we go into our interview segment, we would be talking a lot about the rising cost of living, what has been going on for the past few days, the Middle East war, how it has affected our fuel price, the effect on people generally, and of course, people's complaints, not just people, we motorists, Nigerians generally. But before we go into that particular conversation this morning, we have a report on the effect of lack of power supply. We'll be right back after that. Please stay with us.
Of generators now echoes through many parts of Ibadan, from residential areas to busy markets and small businesses. The absence of steady electricity has forced residents to rely heavily on alternative sources of power. Although Nigeria's power sector generates about 1.7 trillion naira annually from electricity bills paid by homes, businesses, many consumers say the situation on ground does not reflect the amounts being paid for power supply. For many residents, the situation goes beyond mere inconvenience. It has become a daily struggle. Small business owners say they now spend a large portion of their income on fuel just to keep their businesses afloat.
It affects us in a way that every day we spend 7,000 naira for petrol. At the same time, for example, you earn like 10,000 naira per day, while you use 7,000 naira to run our generator.
Several times we don't have lights to work. We need to go for generator, and now the cost of fuel now at times 1 hour, at times 2, at times no at all. A whole day we burn the gen. It's been going on like that.
At welding workshops, hair salons, and frozen food stores, the story remains the same. Without stable electricity, productivity drops while operating costs continue to rise, leaving many entrepreneurs certain about the future of their businesses.
If you buy any at all, I used to buy block 700, 600, 500, almost even sometimes 1,000 almost every day.
It really affects my daily work, especially for this fashion work. There's no I can do without light, electricity. We iron, we sew. I normally sew with my electric machine, not manual. So it really affects my daily work, delay my delivery.
Residents also say the irregular power supply has disrupted household activities, forcing many families to carefully manage electricity whenever it is available.
For preservation, so the solar can power the freezer, and so you can't keep things for long. You can't keep food in the house. You can't buy things to stock the house because they're just going to spoil, especially perishables.
Both the rising cost of fuel and
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Yes, that was a report on the rising cost of living, electricity supply, epileptic electricity supply in recent days, and of course, the ripple effect it's having on the economy. And this morning, we'll be talking about rising cost of living and NLC demand. Labour is saying, well, we have... the Nigerian Labour Congress has called on the federal government to introduce an immediate cost of living allowance and tax relief for Nigerian workers following the recent surge in the price of petrol triggered by the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. To do justice to this conversation this morning, we have the chairman, Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Oyo State Chapter, Comrade Kayode Martins. Comrade.
Hi, sister.
It's good to have you.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Okay. Thank you for welcoming me with that smile. I mean, I would have asked why you're smiling first, but we have a whole lot of conversation to unpack, a whole lot of issues to unpack this morning. But let's start with the current lamentations of the people, the rising costs, before we go into the demands of NLC. And of course, I have NLC in the papers this morning. I've read the papers out, and we know NLC demanding a lot. motorists, people are also calling on NLC to ask what NLC is doing. But firstly, let's look at the rising cost of living. How feasible is it? Is this current situation for workers?
Especially for a common man. In Nigeria today, living has become something else. We find it difficult to survive. I had to beckon on a neighbor of mine to help me taking 2 of my children to school this morning.
Why is that?
My wife's vehicle was down for days now, simply because we couldn't afford to fuel it. And if the passage in the scripture says, if something of that nature, if a wet tree could not bear, how can a dry tree survive? If, as I am, with the little opportunity God has given me, if I can't cope, I wouldn't know the situation.
So, comrade, if you're already coming up with these complaints now, telling us what exactly you are also going through, what's the fate of a common Nigerian?
That's what we are saying.
A regular Nigerian.
I wouldn't know. Maybe the government is not no good. They are not in tune with what people are saying.
What is NLC doing?
We are trying to leverage the situation in the sense that ordinarily the government ought to have arrest the situation. As we have it now, with the ongoing war in Iran, there is an indication that the government has not really opened up. What is that indication? Among the countries supplying the oil globally, Nigeria has the opportunity now to supply more countries than ever before. Meaning, much money will be accrued to the federal government purse, especially when the NNPC now has been handicapped and the money goes straight to the federal government purse. We are having more now. Come watch me. Yeah, I agree with you. There is an ongoing war, but which one will indirectly has increased the money coming into the purse of the federal government? Nigerian citizens should have the positive effect of such.
When you say, let's break it down. Let's understand better.
Thank you.
When you say we have more money,
thank you.
That's not the song. That's not what we are hearing from the government. Please break it down for us. How is this giving us more money? The war going on in the Middle East.
We had this, the similar experience during the Gulf War in the days of IBB. It was thereafter that the likes of late Delegua started asking the questions. Where is the Gulf money? Let me give it in a layman approach. If we have about 10 countries supplying crude oil globally, and one of them or two of them is waging war, that means those countries, where the 2 countries initially giving oil to, the remaining 8 countries now have more countries to supply, meaning they gain more. I'm not disputing the fact that the price of oil has skyrocketed globally. Money coming in last month now is a bit higher than what we have been having before. Immediately the subsidy was removed. I thank God I was here telling the government, the national body of the labor movement in the country, approached the government what to do with the excess money. Instead, for the government to spend the money to leverage the suffering on the masses, they increase allocation for the local government, state government. And I said it openly, you've just financially empowered political elites. Governors now have more. Local governments, chairmen, chairpersons, they now have more. What happens to the masses? They should leverage the excess on agriculture and some other things. See the issue of power supply.
We'll go to that aspect later, but let's look at major sectors that we think should drive the economic development of the nation, but we are not looking into those segments. Talking of the rising cost of living we are currently facing in Nigeria, and I still want us to come back to the issue of fuel price and the effects we've been having. But before that, let's look at the major economic development, those sectors that we are supposed to be focusing on, but we are turning a blind eye to in Nigeria.
It's quite unfortunate that everything revolves oil price. By now, the government ought to have, one way or the other, diversify into agriculture and some other sectors. But they're not doing that. I wouldn't know, maybe they are not ready to plant and wait a bit to reap whatever you sow. But they are not ready to do that. Simply because crude oil, it's an instant thing. Get it instantly, they blow it off, they spend it off. And meanwhile, the indirect influence on the masses is very huge. People are suffering, and they are turning deaf ear to it. We must tell them, and it's quite unfortunate we live in a world where but I must say, we don't have opposition party anymore in the country. If anybody say one thing or the other, maybe he also want to have his own share, and immediately is handled one way or the other, you wouldn't hear them anymore. Many a times they put that pressure on the labor leaders, to take the responsibility of both. We are a pressure group, or both the pressure group and the opposition party. When the opposition party are not doing that, Labour, please, you have to say something. And we've been trying to do it. God helping us.
When you say we've been trying to do it, I'm talking of Labour now.
Taking the responsibility
Comrade, Nigerians are really talking about the role of Labour, or the role Labour is playing or is supposed to play in the current trajectory of Nigeria right now. But we are not seeing what the effect of Labour. We are not seeing the impact. I mean, people are saying, where is Labour?
Thank you.
What should Labour be doing? Why are we not feeling Labour as we should feel Labour? What exactly is going on?
As of today, globally, Nigeria Labour Congress is well recognized simply because they stand as the voice for the voiceless. We live in a world, especially here in Nigeria, where the government of the day wouldn't want anything being said against them. It is not done. This is the democratic setting of government. Either you like it or people must say their minds. First and foremost, like I said, we are not the opposition party. Whenever a sitting government silent the opposition, it wouldn't be to the benefit of anybody. There is no opposition party anymore in Nigeria. It is the labor movement now that is one way or the other. And when you do it at times, you've been bought over by the opposition. You've been bribed. Take, for instance, immediately the government of the day at the national level come up with subsidy removal. It was done in a bad way. The president said, I've removed subsidy and there is nothing anybody can do. Sir, everybody agitates for that. But at the same time, when it is removed, something must be put in place. It was the labor movement that gave this sitting president 11-point agenda, which is still using now. That shows that he did not have a solid plan. He removed the subsidy when there was no minister for finance, neither minister for petroleum, what have you. It was the 11-point agenda given to them by the government, by the labor movement. They are still roaming about. Then, when the issue of a wage award, it was the labor movement that cried for that, simply because the only way to have wealth redistributed is through whatever you give to the masses, through minimum wage or what have you. Nigeria is an oil-producing country. Whenever you want to sell to us, you compare us to oil-producing countries. The price daring. Now, when it's time for you to pay us, when we demand something similar to that oil-producing country, you sell only, you hear a different story entirely. They have not been sincere.
Mm. When we talk about minimum wage, I know there are some demands Labour has listed out to the federal government. You're talking of a minimum wage, reduced tax for workers, cost of living allowance. You mentioned minimum wage. I know when Labour fought for the current minimum wage we are currently using, operating on in Nigeria, which is the 70,000 naira. And we have some states who have gone as far as, increasing it a bit for workers. Still, this same Nigeria, we have states who are still not implementing the 70,000 naira minimum wage. What exactly is Labour doing about that? That's number one. And talking of the cost of living allowance, which is more beneficial to the people. Please go ahead.
Thank you. As regards the minimum wage is a statutory law which any government at any level fails to pay, he or she should resign or be prosecuted. But here in Nigeria, it's a story of animal farm. We are no longer equal. Some people are above the law. These same governors who place their hand on the Nigerian constitution and so on oath to defend that constitution, they are the ones violating it now. It's quite unfortunate. We're supposed to have many governors rotting in jail because it's a law. It is the same law that brought you in that you are violating. It shouldn't be. From our own end here, thank God, especially, the Southwest here, you dare not do that. There is no governor in Southwest paying less than minimum. We always have stories like that from the northern part. Yeah. It's a different world entirely in that place. May God save our people over there.
I mean, it's not just about God saving the people. The people are also expecting...
They should cry out. They should fight.
But in a situation where... That's why we have an organization. We have the labor movement. Who are those that should cry for the people, speak up for the people? Now, when we have, a certain amount of people or in a particular region still suffering, still fighting for what's theirs, you're working and you're not getting a commensurate amount of the job what you're supposed to earn. Now, why is the labor not coming in? There are a lot of instances where we feel labor is a little setback based on the outcry of the people. Why is this so? Is labor also scared of speaking up, or is their voice crippled? What exactly is happening?
Kudos to my national president, Joe Ajaero. When this administration came up, and he had called for strike and some other industrial actions on several occasions. And the way the whole thing is structured is like, it's not possible for me now to come to your household and help you, most especially when you are satisfied with what you are experiencing. Are you with me? And many a times when you perceive, when you read the handwritings, that people in a particular sect, they are satisfied, there is little you can do. That's a general phenomenon. Like I said, here in Southwest, you dare not do that. We compare notes all the time. We approach Mr. Governor, see what is happening in Ogun, see what is happening in Osun. And even before you get to them, we observe that they do talk to themselves. Take, for instance, when we were about to sit for the minimum wage in Oyo State here, there was an agitation about a particular issue. I was standing there and the governor called Lagos State Governor. Please, Jide, I thought he was talking to another man. Jide, so how do you manage this issue in Lagos? Then I realized he was talking to Sanwo-Olu. Say, this is what I did, this is what I did, and I do it. And it was nothing but a confirmation of what we put before him. That was warranted Oyo State earning 80,000 instead of 70,000. We told him some facts. This is what is happening in neighboring states. The federal government pronounced 70. People are no longer, the 70 is no longer feasible. Things are tense, and he said, okay, let me consult my. If we have the same nature being practiced, especially at the northern part, let me say it emphatically, at the southwest, at the southern part of this country, maybe that's the power of education. And the leaders from the northern part, they capitalize on that to take advantage of their people. It's another story for another day. That is the show we have. And meanwhile, there is no way it wouldn't have a kind of a general effect on our cause. Let me open up a bit. As a labor leader now, before we do anything, I have to call the Congress. At least majority of the affiliates must agree with me. And if you have a move and the majority of people are not in line with you, there's nothing you do. So many a times I see our leaders at the national level having the same experience.
But when you say a majority of the people not agreeing with what you want to do, there must have been a backstory to that. I mean, if you're fighting for the people, it's for the benefit of the people. Why will the people not be in support?
The best way or the easiest way to enslave somebody is to give him a wrong doctrine. What we witness today in Nigeria setting is nothing to go to write home all about. The late sage Obafemi Awolowo said, education is the best way to empower people. When you are not well informed, you're out of it entirely. It saddens one's heart when you hear people saying, excuse me, if you are here, your governor has not paid the minimum wage, what do you think? And the state chairperson is telling you, our governor is doing well. Though he has not implemented, you can't batch to another man's house when he or she is not requesting for your help. That is the way the world is structured. Now, many a time people want to see the kind of labor movement we had in the past. I've been saying it, and until people get the understanding, let's keep saying it. In the days of Oshiomhole, especially his first term, we had only one labor movement in the country, Nigeria Labour Congress. And he made use of that opportunity to confront the government of the day. That was the first term of Obasanjo. Then, when Obasanjo passed, it was Obasanjo, when he was in khaki, that said, hello, we don't want to see labor movement in the country. You are so many. Come under one umbrella. He did that in 1979 when he was in khaki. Come under one umbrella. He formed Nigeria Labour Congress. And from 1979 till 1999, you see a formidable labor force under one umbrella. When Obasanjo came to power in 1999, the Oshiomhole used that platform as well. But during the second time, we went to the House of Assembly to weaken the labor force. Said, no, the NSC is too strong. This is what we're going to do now. Let's have 4 labor centers. We met at the back door. This is what he intends to do, to weaken our voice. Okay, let everybody register back to NSC. So automatically the other 3 die. But this is what happens. As all affiliates started going to NSC, some saw the opportunity to stand on it. That's what warranted NSC TUC. Now we now have a law. The law says you dare not ask single-handedly. 2 of you must agree. They work day and night to make sure, many a times. I gave kudos to my twin brother here in Oyo State, TUC. And what warranted that, I give glory to God as well. In the days of late Akala here in Oyo State, what Akala administration did was to pick one of us, the TUC there. Let me be bold enough to say, the TUC. And we couldn't, because the law says 2 of you must agree before you negotiate. And we were telling the people their intention. One party to another. How can people vote for you, empower you, then the next thing you're telling them the platform is not good? The same platform that brought you to power. All I need to do now to be the governor or what have you is just to cajole you people whenever you cast your vote for me. I start doing something else. There should be laws to regulate that. There was a time this issue of freedom of whatsoever. We told you, the medias, all what they are trying to do is to.
And the cost of living allowance.
Thank you so much.
Currently, we have 70,000 naira pegged as the minimum wage from the federal government in Nigeria.
At this hour of the day?
Yes.
70,000.
We know some states are paying more. Some states have not implemented. But currently, what is the realistic amount?
Thank you so much. Like I said, immediately more money was accrued to the federal government boss. What are the instances? What are the implications? Especially on the common man. If a serious government that has a mind for people must have it is not necessary that the labor must come to you before you do the right thing. The current Olubadan.
Looking at, talking of the merger now, I know you talked about petroleum, also talked about power, and power is a major drive for the economy in terms of generation, new generation. And we've seen an epileptic, a very porous power supply in recent weeks. Looking at the papers this morning, it says NLC rejects federal government's planned 6 trillion power generation bailouts. And it calls for Power Petroleum Ministry's merger. Now, how do you think, or how effective do you think this merger would help our fuel and of course electricity, power, in terms of generation, and of course in terms of improving the cost, the livelihood of Nigerians?
Let me give it to the general masses in a layman approach. If a huge amount of money is coming in because of a trendy war in a particular place into the cover of the federal government, use that excess now to fix power problem. That's what we are trying to teach them. Don't leverage the suffering on the masses.
But with what we've seen lately, do you think we are working towards fixing our power problems?
That's the question for them to answer. $20 billion was some fund in the days of Obasanjo. And I know after Obasanjo took president, more than that has been siphoned.
Because it still feels like Nigerians are suffering, yes. War is fighting for us. We are talking about fuel price hike. We are talking about high cost of living, electricity, which has been the major issue for the past few weeks, and there is still no way out. There is still no resolve. What is Labour doing exactly? Talking of electricity now, because, I mean, I don't know, maybe you have a better electricity supply in your area, but I also interviewed someone from IBDC last week, and, you know, it was still on this same erratic power supply. What exactly should we be expecting from Labour, most especially, in fighting for the masses?
I think I've given you...
Yes, I know you have, but let's have a practical solution now, because according to what you're saying, it still feels like Labour is handicapped. Labour cannot really do much, you know, when the people are not even willing. Do you think the people are really not willing to be helped?
No, listen to me. The way the political Nigeria is structured politically, they curated the poverty to be able to enslave people, in the sense that on 2 different occasions, a directive from the national that we should go and picket the IBDC and the likes. Gone are the days when you see masses coming out. Even the media, at one time or the other, were bought over to fight against us. With what you read on social media nowadays, you see a senator erecting a borehole to a particular community. The way the media will carry it, you'll be surprised. And by the time we are telling them, excuse me, he's not doing it out of his own purse. This is his responsibility. And compare with what he has taken on behalf of the people. This is nothing. You wouldn't hear such from the media, from the newsmen anymore. And at times, they position us as opposition, a threat to the government. That's why I'm crying now. It's a general thing. All our small is beyond deck now. I said it earlier on. What we have today in Nigeria is the political elite being enriched every day at the expense of the masses. And they use that money now to set the masses against themselves. So that, and when you don't identify your enemy, you've lost the battle already. The issue of high cost of living, you can't give me 70,000 naira as minimum wage. It's like giving me 2 things and taking 10 through the back door. The president said he's going to reduce the purchasing power of the masses. So it's a good thing if that is done, and you regulate price, you control price. If I'm not empowered to buy things and you make those things available, you've done the right thing. But by the time you reduce my purchasing power, and at the same time, price of commodities have skyrocketed, how do I survive? Who does that?
Have you had a one-on-one conversation?
Many times.
I'm talking of currently, lately, with what we have been experiencing lately. As a Labour, have you had a one-on-one conversation with the federal government?
Maybe I should borrow a word
state governors.
A word from the scriptures. On his way to a place, the 2 people asked Jesus Christ, say, are you new in the town? So I'm asking Nigerians, are we new in this country? Don't you realize the way and manner they do their things? Before they eat you, they must have set up some paparazzi and some things, disguising to help us.
But that's what the fight is all about. To make sure we are not, if labor could talk like this, then what should a common Nigerian say?
One of our responsibilities is to educate the masses. You can come and pick me up, I wouldn't mind. And that's what I'm trying to do. Many a times, the policies of the government is not making life conducive for the people. And somebody needs to tell the people that.
Comrade, we'll come back to the policies. And I think it's the right time to actually talk about those policies. Thank you very much for staying with us. Still talking about the rising cost of living and NLC demand. And of course, we've been talking about the fight by NLC for Nigerians and how has it been for NLC recently. But beyond that, we want to talk about the policies now, the federal government policies. Remember when the current administration came into power and, of course, announced the subsidy removal. I said there is no subsidy, anymore. We also saw the floating of the naira that affected our exchange value and every other policies that have been put in place by this administration. Let's look at it as a ripple effect of the economy. So far, what would you say about the policies that have been implemented, especially under this administration?
Thank you. Let me speak majorly on two aspects that has really affected us. Subsidy removal. There is no country in the entire world that does not subsidize one thing or the other for the people. If Nigeria is removing subsidy from the fuel, from oil, we approach the government, the labor movement approach the government. Sir, this will generate more money into the purse of the federal government. Can we have it spread across health sectors? We don't have this brain drain. We have our good hands floating abroad. Let's have it spread across agriculture. There will be much food. And if we can produce locally, that will reduce importation. And we have so we told them, and education as well. You can't tell me you rob the father and you now borrow the son to pay the school fees. That's what is happening. We pay more than what you are giving back to us. So we approach them. And this issue of refinery, many a times you read it from the pages of the news that military discover illegal refinery and they destroy it. Hundreds of refinery empower the local people to refine this oil, rather than giving the life of the entire citizen to a man. This same man came out and he told us, allow me to produce cement. If you allow me, a bag of cement will not be sold higher than 1,000. How much is a bag of cement now? 12,000. And this same man said, allow me to produce. What happens to our local refineries? And if you can gather some individual who in one way or the other, they do this thing locally, there is need for us to maybe to look them into it. Let's get the oil that they are producing. Is it okay How do we empower them? And by the time this thing is make common to all, the price automatically will go down. But when you jeopardize the interests of the masses and you empower one man, he can do and undo. That is what we are witnessing now as regards Dangote refinery. And I wouldn't blame him. Maybe, like I said, many Nigerians, the little understanding that we even need is not there. Dangote is a businessman. And what is the sole aim of a capitalist? To make profits at all costs. That is the danger they are in, that they wouldn't hope no. To make profit at all costs. What is the sole responsibility of the government? To protect life as citizens. That is to make life easy for the people. And by the time we have the two of them now going towards one direction, then one we can conclude we are in the hand of the noble capitalists, both at the government level and at the business level. And the ripple effect is what you are having now. Automatically, it is the common man that will be paying for it. That's what we are saying.
Looking at the core demand of NLC now says cost of living allowance, wage award and salary increase, tax relief for low-income earners, cash transfers to vulnerable Nigerians, immediate intervention to reduce fuel burden, and reversal of fuel price hike. These are NLC's core demands.
Yeah.
What has been done?
If subsidy, let me pick each one after the other. If subsidy is totally removed and there is a core, there is a reason to bring it back. Maybe, okay, as of today now, you can't even know. I bought it 1,250 in the morning. In the evening, it has gone up to 1,300. Government should do something. And if you fail to do that, one way or the other, there's this chain of effect. If you don't do that, Mama Loda will tell you the transportation whatsoever is costly.
Of course, it's coming back to the people.
Thank you.
The purchasing power of the people.
Thank you. Now, to enhance that, to enhance the purchasing power of the people, you have to pay more. If you fail to control price of commodities and the price goes up, you have to pay the people a commensurate amount to be able to live. That's what we are saying.
Yes, comrade. And I understand that part, but it feels you're not still answering my question.
What is the question directly?
What has been done by NLC?
We put all this
been
before.
a meeting by, saying, oh, we are meeting minister of this, minister of that. Are you meeting the president? This is a recent demand. This is a present demand by NLC for the past few days, last week and this week.
What has been done on a good day, the government is supposed to have consulted the stakeholders, part of which the activists.
You just said it yourself, comrade, that a Nigerian government, if you do not fight for yourself, Nigerian government might not do what they are supposed to do. Yeah. So at this point, we expect the Nigerian Labour Congress, the TUC, to go forward, represent the people, represent workers, represent the masses, and table our concerns. What has been done?
We've sent the message to them. And whatever you are paying now is no longer conducive. People there is need for us.
And has there been a response from the federal government?
You know them. Like I said, until we wail on the streets, until we cry, they wouldn't listen. And we are ready to do that.
Okay.
And I'm beckoning on the masses. This is the reason. Many a times when they turn the deaf ear and you're telling them, please stop, let's tell them. People are really suffering. It is only the political elites that rob they are just robbing the poor to pay their own Peter.
What's the realistic and sustainable amount for looking at the economy now?
Their agitation.
To say minimum wage. What's the realistic and sustainable amount for a household to sustain a household for a month? What amount is NLC looking at to table before the federal government?
No. This is what happened during the 70,000 agitation. We demanded a fire for 560,000. Initially, it was 1 million plus because the president promised to pay living wage. Yes. He said, don't let us talk about minimum. Now, let's come up with a living wage. Okay, for a common man to survive, to live adequately in Nigeria, we calculated everything, transportation and the likes, and it all amounted to 1 billion plus. Then they said, this is huge. We came down to 560,000. Now, when the governors' forums came in, the least governor said he couldn't afford that. Then, the president said, if I have to pay more than 70,000, I will increase price of the oil. And we agree. That was the agreement at the national level. Pay 70,000 naira and make sure the price of PMS does not go above XYZ. You wouldn't believe it. Before 70,000 naira was paid, the price of PMS has increased arbitrarily. That's what we. And the cost effect is what you see now. Now we are saying, okay, there is a penny war. It's likely the price comes down. Now give us something to leverage on that for now. That is why we target allowance. Maybe 200,000 naira, 150,000 naira, and at the same time, whatever is agreed at the national, each state now will now go and meet their governors and come up with something. What the government, I wouldn't know, but their body language, as usual, is that let's buy time more.
For how long are we going to buy time?
Maybe they are waiting to see more dead bodies on the streets.
Now, who are those? For common Nigerian now, for all Nigerians, should we be holding accountable?
All of us.
For all this.
All of us. I said something earlier on, which was, the media, the newsmen. I'm sorry to say this off here. I know the level of atrocity the medias of Nigerians today. We're supposed not to be celebrating all our political office holders. Quite unfortunately, we see you people behind them. The media, the labor leaders, the market women, everybody, all of us. We should cry and let them realize, hello, sir, you are not doing well, sir.
Should we have expectations in the coming days, coming weeks from NLC?
Yeah, we will.
In favor of the people.
We will do our part, and like I just said, every hand must be on desk. This suffering is too much. It's only those who benefit from such. Tell the people nothing is wrong. I said something